Two, one. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to another fabulous edition of Minority Real Estate Millionaires. We have a special show that we have going on tonight. And I want to make sure that everyone knows that in order for you to be successful in real estate, you got to rub shoulders with different people, and you got to get out there and you got to acknowledge that you don't know it all. So I've got a special guest tonight. This young brother, he's got it going on, and we're both in the game together. We're both minorities. We're both millionaires, and we're making it happen. And so I'm just happy and excited about having him on the show today. So we got something good going here, and I think if you listen intently, you're going to learn something today. So let's go ahead and get this party started. Let's go over our ground rules. Of course, we want to make sure everybody keeps your call muted during this time. If you got any questions, let's ask those in the chat section, and I'm going to be there moderating a little bit while our guest speaker is doing his thing. And then, as always, I need your feedback. I need to know how we can improve and make this thing better, right? We got to be able to grow together and make it work better. And so our agenda for today is pretty simple. We got our special guest. I'm going to introduce him here, Soddee Knight of the Knight Land Company. And then after he gets done sharing with us, I want to allow some time for Q&A with him. And then if we have time after that, I'm going to give you an update what the impact was to Juice Properties in the recent storms. So let me first start by introducing our special guest today. And Soddee, if you want to go ahead, and I'm going to stop sharing and let you put your screen up real quick as I go through your bio, my brother. So
thank you. I appreciate that.
Let me tell you a little bit about this young brother. Soddee, he was born and reared in Oklahoma City. Graduated from Oklahoma State University. We won't hold that against him, Sooners. English graduate, earning a bachelor's of science degree and a minor in economics in just 3 years, y'all. And during his time there in Oklahoma State, he placed on the Dean's Honor Roll multiple semesters. After he earned his bachelor's degree, Soddee enrolled in Southern University Law Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. After graduating from law school in 2013, he served as the county prosecutor here in Oklahoma County in the district attorney's office. Soddee served as an advisory role in the federal court system from 2015 until July of 2019. In 2013, Soddee and his wife, Keturah, I hope I pronounced that right,
yes,
formed a real estate investment company, which now earns more than $400,000 annually in revenues, and he owns, get this, $3 million in net worth and assets, and he's growing those every month. Soddee became a licensed real estate agent in 2017. And then he developed a real estate investing curriculum and provides one-on-one mentoring services to aspiring real estate investors. Soddee enjoys sports, real estate investing, fast cars, I like that, and a little bit of trap music to go along with it. He lives right here in Oklahoma City, baby, with his wife, Keturah, and his son, Winston. He's got a dog named Topanga.
That's correct, yes.
So join me in welcoming our special guest today, Soddee Knight. Take it away, my brother.
Mr. Ray, I appreciate you for asking me to be here. I know that we have a lot in common. Me and Mr. Ray, we actually went and had a meal together the other day, and I think we could have just kept going on for days, but but I know we have other obligations. We just really love real estate, and really, if you want to get into real estate, it really helps to love what you're doing, because you'll just get better at it if you love it. If you act like real estate is a task or a job or something like that, then it's probably not going to stay with you very long. But real estate is a long game. But I appreciate you having me, and I'm gonna kind of take it from the top, and basically I'm just gonna tell you about my past year. Tell all the students about my past year and kind of where we started. I think I usually here the last couple of years in real estate, I've taken off a couple of months, and I usually get started around February. Back, kind of start my year February. I take off December and January usually when it comes to real estate. But yeah, I'm gonna kind of walk through my last year of what happened. But before that, I want to get into kind of why did I even start doing real estate? And I had a job, and hey, they were paying me really well. I was in my 20s, and I was making over 100,000 a year with the federal government. Why would I walk away from that to get into something that people consider as risky, right? People say, "Ooh, that's risky. Why would you want to do that?" Well, let me tell you, having multiple streams of income is far less risky than relying on a W-2 job that maybe makes up 90 or 100% of your income. Because, I realized at any point, someone could walk into my government office and say, my boss could say, "Hey, guess what? We don't need you anymore." And then I'm high and dry. So, when I first got that government job, I went ahead and started buying real estate. Buying real estate. I realized I needed to create and generate multiple streams of income. And I think Mr. Ray would agree that multiple streams of income is a safe strategy on how to generate wealth and make sure that cash flow is coming in. So I knew I wanted to do that. So I kind of went down the path that most people traditionally go down, and I went ahead and got just your general old conventional financing on your rental real estate, where the bank, they make you put down 20%. And so after a while, I'm like, golly, my 20% there, that's starting to run out, so what can I do? So I wanted to find out ways to purchase real estate with little to no money down. And, that is some of the things that I'm going to run through here in just a little bit. And I know people say, "What do you mean buying real estate with no money down?" It has probably been 4 or 5 years, or I'll say at least 3 years, since I have put any of my money down on a property, and wasn't able to get that money back on a cash out refi just a short time later, or just straight out not have any of my money out of my pocket at all. So I'm going to kind of walk through that, and I'm going to show you the actual documents. I'm not just making this up. I do this stuff every day. I'm doing multiple deals this month. So I'm going to show you guys the actual documents, but some of the things that make real estate great, and I talk about this all the time, is there's no other business or asset that can generate that can make you wealthier in 5 different ways. Okay, and I'm going to kind of go through those ways, and then I'll show you what I mean in the example. So the first way that real estate can make you wealthier is if you're able to buy it at a discount, right? So the first way is buying it at a discount. So if you have a property, maybe it's $100,000, but you're able to get it for $80,000, right? So right there, you just made yourself $20,000 just by buying it at a discount. So that's way number one, that real estate can make you wealthy. And if you do that, a couple of times a year, next thing you know, you got an extra $100,000 in in net worth. So that's way number one. Buy it at a discount. Way number two is typically over time, when you purchase real estate, it goes up in value. Okay, so it may not go up every single month, but over the course of the long term, it will go up in value, and all you have to do is hold on to it. And Mr. Ray will tell you that is how a lot of his wealth has been generated, because he holds on to a lot of his real estate. So that's way number 2. You got to hold on to it. It goes up in value. So that's way number 2. Way number 3 is when you purchase it using leverage, meaning you purchase it with debt. Okay, so purchase it with debt. You place a tenant or a renter in that unit, and that tenant is paying down that debt. So you have debt reduction. Okay, debt reduction is key. So basically, you're purchasing something, and someone else is paying it off. And I think Mr. Ray has probably gone into that with you guys pretty extensively. So that's way number 3. Okay, debt reduction. Every single month, you pay a little bit of that debt off, and when you do that, it increases your equity in that property, and therefore your net worth also increases. Okay, so that's way number 3. Way number 4 is you have cash flow, right? So you have cash flow that's left over after your mortgage is paid, after your taxes and insurance are paid. You have this thing called cash flow, and that's the money that's left over for your pocket, right? So that's what you need to make sure. That's kind of a key part of real estate investing is the cash flow. I'm a cash flow investor. So if the deal is not cash flowing, I'm not doing the deal. There's a lot of investors out there that are what you call appreciation investors. Okay, they're okay without making no cash flow for 5 or 10 years, but they're banking in on the appreciation side. That's not me. I like to see. I don't want to kind of speculate. That's kind of speculative, right? So I like to see money every month coming into my pocket. So that's way number 4, that leftover cash flow. And way number 5 is something that a lot of people kind of overlook, but it's the tax benefits that you get called depreciation. Okay, depreciation is what you get, and I know a lot of you probably have rental properties, but depreciation is what you get to claim on your taxes as a loss. Okay, so basically it's an expense that you didn't have to spend any money on, and you get depreciation every year in your taxes. Okay, so basically those are the 5 ways that rental real estate generates wealth for you every single month. You get that money. So yeah, those are ways. And let me pull up my and Mr. Ray, he outlined those very very well. So yeah, it's not tough at all to generate a lot of wealth if you recognize these 5 ways to that real estate can benefit you. You guys are in the advanced class, so I'm just going to get right into kind of what what my year looked like, and I'm going to share my screen here. And this year is very unique. We had the the COVID pandemic kind of broke out, so it kind of changed a little bit what what we had going on, but I'm going to show you how we were still able to generate generate a lot of cash flow and a lot of net worth. Is everyone able to see this screen? Can you give me a thumbs up, Mr. Ray? Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I just want to show you this. This is let's see, what was this? April. Or actually, hey, this is this is the screen that I want to show you guys last. I want to show you. Let me go back here. I got out of order on us. Okay, here we go. Let's see if this is the same. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to pull up the screen, and it's giving me the wrong one here. Let's see if I can share the right one. I got a lot of screens going on, so let's see if I can share the correct one. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so So in February, February this year, we kind of started back up our marketing for deals. And basically our marketing for deals is we send out letters to folks. We used to put up signs. I think you used to see the signs that say like we buy houses. We don't do that anymore, but we send out letters to people who own property, right? So owners of property, and you can purchase these lists at a lot of different companies. There's a couple that we use, and if you're looking for a couple of recommendations after this is over with, just let me know. But we got a call in, and there were some folks. They had a condo, and they were looking to sell the condo. They needed to sell relatively quickly. They had a elderly mom out of town, and so they needed to sell. And that's kind of the key. You're looking for people who need to sell. You don't want to find people who just maybe want to sell. People who need to sell, they're able to sell quickly and maybe at the prices that you want to pay. And that's kind of one of the key jobs as a real estate investor, is to find a good deal, a deal that can make you money, right? Because that's your job as a real estate investor, is to make money and make sure that you can get a good deal. So this is March 2020. I don't think the COVID was here yet, so I was able to meet with these people in person. I said, hey, this is my offer for your condo. It was a 1-bedroom condo over by Penn Square Mall, and so I said, hey, I can give you 23 grand for it, because it needed some work. It needed flooring, it needed some kitchen, some backsplash type stuff. It needed a little work, but flooring was the main deal. The whole size of the condo was, I think, 400 square feet. They needed the money quick. They needed to go see their mom or whatever it was they told me. And so I said, okay, I'll give you 23 grand for it. And so they said, okay, we'll take it. So I went to First Security Bank, and no secret, I'll show you all my stuff. Went to First Security Bank here in Oklahoma City. I said, hey, I got this deal under contract for 23 grand. How much will you lend on it? And they said, we'll give you 30,000 for it, right? But I said, you know what? I don't necessarily need that much. How about you just give me 28, right? So, and the reason they did that is because the value of it was greater than 23 grand, right? The value of it at this point maybe was 35 grand. And so, as a real estate investor, you need to know how much you can be all in on a property, and still be able to make money on the deal. Okay. So I knew that, about 23 grand was what I wanted to pay, because I knew that it needed some fix ups. I knew that I could spend maybe 25 altogether and still make a little bit of money. This was a condo. Otherwise I would have held on to it, but the condo HOA fees typically go up. And I think I was telling Mr. Ray about this deal. Typically I keep my deals, but this one was a condo. So I said, nope, I gotta let that go. That HOA fees could eat into my cash flow. So just going on down this settlement statement, you see at the bottom here where it says due to seller, or I'm sorry, due to buyer. So when I bought this deal, I bought a piece of property, and I got a check for $2,600, right? And that was about how much I thought I needed to get everything fixed up how I needed it to be fixed up at that point. So $2,600, bought a property, walked out there with a check, and then I immediately went to my flooring contractors and went to my kitchen folks, and I said, hey, we need to get this all fixed up. Now keep in mind, the whole floor, the whole square footage is 500 square feet. So, I knew it wasn't going to take a whole lot. We got $1 a square foot flooring. And then our flooring contractors, because we use them so often, they charge about $1 or so a square foot, $1.50, something like that. So altogether, we put a new backsplash up. The appliances were fine. Altogether, we spent about $1,500, and then you include, we paid some insurance on it, or I'm sorry, we paid tax, and then we paid some electricity. So altogether, we spent about $2,000 on the fix up. And hey, if you look at that, we still got about $600 left. So what do you do then, right? So we like, okay, we got this thing. What do we do? So we closed the deal, and then we said, well, we don't want to hold on to it. So let's see if we can put it on the market. Okay. So what do? We put it on the market, listed it on the MLS, and as you can see, about 3 weeks later, we closed the deal, because that was March. March is when we bought the deal. About 3 weeks later, you see we sold the property for $45,000, right? So we made, in 3 weeks' time, you see, from due to seller. Now, of course, if we would have held on to it for a couple of years, we probably could have gotten a lot more than $45,000 out of it. But this is a HOA. The HOA goes up, and the cash flow wasn't looking really, really great. Our cash flows numbers need to look really, really great. So we went ahead and sold it, and just took the 13.5 along with our other 600 left over. So we made about 14 or so grand, and that was in about 3 weeks time. So imagine if you do that every 3 weeks, right? That would be that'd be pretty amazing. But I just wanted to show you that we did all this with no money out of our pocket. Okay, remember that we took about a $28,000 loan right here. We paid that back, and everything we paid back, and we had about 14 grand left, and that was about 3 weeks time. And that's, hey, this is here right in Oklahoma City. I'm not anything special. Anybody can do this. Even if you're a new person, you can do this. This is nothing, this is not like rocket science. So yeah, you say, okay, well, what did you do next, right? What did you do next? Does anyone have any questions about and I can read your chat questions as we go along here if you got any questions about any of that. But yeah, so that was March, April of this year. And then I want to kind of bring you along to the next kind of deal that we did. And basically I'm just showing you guys that, this is not some kind of mysterious thing that anybody can do. Okay, this is a good question. How did you get the bank to agree to give you a loan without requiring you to put up a portion of the loan amount? So I use a couple of small lenders, small banks, but a lot of my students, maybe they don't have the track record or whatever, right? So what they do is I connect them with hard money lenders, right? So Mr. Ray, he told me he's a hard money lender. There's a lot of hard money lenders out there that will only look at the deal. I know hard money lenders that would have given me a lot more money than that 28,000 that I got from the bank. So basically, it has to be a good deal, and everybody in the lenders are going to look at the deal. That's the difference between a conventional investment loan where you're putting 20% down, because they don't really care about the how good or bad the deal is, right? All they're looking at is your debt. They're looking at you personally. They're looking at your debt to income ratio. They're looking at things that don't necessarily determine if it's a good or a bad deal. But in this case, you got to sell this deal to, if you're dealing with a brand new lender that you've never dealt with before, you got to sell this deal and be able to back it up. Hey, Mr. Lender, hey, I got this deal under contract for 23,000. All the comps in the neighborhood are selling for 40,000. Give me 30,000 on the deal, and you'll still be protected. You'll still be secured because the comps are so high. This thing is really worth $40,000, $35,000, whatever. They just want to have that first position loan and be protected, right? So they have 20% equity or 25% equity in the deal because you got such a good deal. uh, they're still protected. Even if they foreclose, right, they're still going to get their money because the deal is worth so much more than what you got it under contract for. And that's your job as a real estate investor. Get these deals under contract for as little as you can. And I'm going to show uh, Mr. Ray. Remember the deal that I showed everyone in the at the conference, and it was we got under contract for 30. I think it was 38,000, and the lender said, "Hey, we'll give you 100 grand on it." And the reason why is because the properties all around it are selling for 200, 190,000. So that is basically what you have to do, right? You have to get these deals under contract, go to the lender and say, "Listen, lender, this is such a great deal that even if you give me way more than what I paid for it, you're still protected because it's worth so much more." Let's see. Yes. So yeah, you can just, so basically, there's companies, and basically when I first started out, what I would do is I just went down the county assessor's website, Oklahoma County Assessor, and just looked at all the properties that I wanted to see if I could purchase, and wrote down the property address and the owner and send them a letter. Send them a letter. I would invite my cousins, my friends, and say, "Hey, we need to write these letters. We need to write these envelopes," and we would send them out. Okay, we would send them out, and then you get phone calls that come in. Phone calls come in, and people say, "I got your letter in the mail. We may be interested in selling our property, but how does the process work?" Because they're not interested in listing it with a real estate agent. You tell them that you'll pay all their closing costs and all that kind of stuff. And I should have showed you guys, but in that last example where I purchased the deal for 23,000, they actually walked out of there with more than 23,000 because I paid their taxes, I paid their all their closing costs, and I paid everything. So they want you to make sure, you got to reassure them that, hey, this is the process. We close our deals, and it's kind of like a numbers game, right? So yeah, everybody's not going to sell you their deal, or sell you their house, but enough people will, right? And that's all you need is one or two every chance, every couple months, or however many you want to do. Let's see. I'm going to go on, then I'm going to answer that. I'm going to show you guys another example. And this next example is going to be an example just right off the MLS. Okay, right off the MLS, right here in the Oklahoma City metro area. This wasn't anything secret. It wasn't tricky. It was, everybody had the same chance to buy it, right? So I'm going to show you guys um, the next deal. And as Mr. Ray said, I have my real estate license. So this is kind of what the backside of the MLS looks like. But I found this deal right on Zillow. So it wasn't, it's not like I wasn't doing anything special or anything. I just looked on Zillow, and here it was. This is the list price. It was listed for 220. But I noticed there was a kind of a discrepancy with the price per square foot and the square footage on the listing. It says it's 1559 square feet. And the price per square foot. So I'm thinking, okay, there's something going on with this. So I went over to the property and looked at it, and come to find out, this is a duplex, and it's as you see, it's in Edmond. So it's a duplex in Edmond, and I looked at it, and so it's kind of my personal policy to just make an offer on every single thing that I look at, right? So I know where I need to be, and I just make an offer on it. And if they take it, then great. If not, I'm making offers. I probably make, I don't know, 5 offers every single week. And I don't need everybody to accept, right? I just need maybe 1 out of every 20 people to accept, or whatever. So I made an offer, right? And this is, nothing too significant, but I think probably what threw people off was the square footage. I noticed that square footage was off, that they entered it wrong. This is an out-of-state buyer, so I don't think they really cared that much about, checking behind the real estate agent and all that kind of, or I'm sorry, out-of-state seller. So I don't think they cared about checking behind the real estate agent. So really, this price per square foot, with the list price, you divide that by two. So we're talking, $70 a square foot, which that kind of rung my bells right there. I know the Edmond area, and I know that you can't buy anything for $70 a square foot in Edmond. So even at that list price, that's still a pretty good deal. But what we did is, we offered them, I think it was 150,000. They countered back at, I think, 195, and we finally settled on 190. And I'm going to show you that here in the documents. And I'm thinking, hey, even if I bought it at 220, that's still a pretty good deal there, because the price per square foot in this neighborhood is not quite 141, but it's close to it. It's about 130, and I'll show you guys that in just a moment. So we went ahead and did the deal. And let's see here. Where's the purchase? So yeah. So okay. So this is during the time when COVID was really starting to heat up. Okay. I mean, it was like everybody was like scared out of their mind, oh my goodness, what is everybody going to do? Like nobody was doing anything. No, all business had stopped basically. This was like right around that time. So the lender said, hey, you know what? We'll still do the deal, but instead of the 190 that you bought it for, we're going to give you 165, right? So I put down 5,000 in earnest money. Put down 5,000 in earnest money, and then I, paid the other. I think it was 25 grand down. And so, and by the way, none of that 25 grand down was generated from any of my money. So it was all deals like that condo that you saw. So, that condo, like I say, we generated 14 grand, and that was money that was none of my money. And so that was the same way with that whole 25 grand that we put down here. All that was, I don't consider that, that was just generated money. So we did that. Let's see, actually, it's at the very bottom, I think. Yeah, we put down 25 grand, and then we had a deal. And one of the best things about it is this deal was already cash flowing. Okay, I didn't have to get a new renter in there. One side was already we had some very long term tenants in there, and they were paying $700 a month, which is super below market rent for a 3-bed, 2-bath, 2-car garage there in Edmond. So that was the opportunity that I saw to generate even more value and more income. Okay. So the units needed some fixing up. There was one unit that was vacant. So that was the unit that we started with to kind of fix up. And I want to show you guys my service agreement that I use. So that was the next step, right? We got to get this thing fixed up. And I told Mr. Ray, I think that's the special sauce in real estate investing. Fixing your property up is the special sauce. And let me explain. For example, you can take a property maybe that you bought for $100,000, and let's say let's say it's broken down, right? And you put 5 or 10 grand into it. The increase that you're going to get from fixing it up is going to be far greater than 5 or 10 grand. And it should be. If it's not, then you're doing something wrong, right? So let's say you buy a $100,000 property, you fix it up, you put 10 grand or 5 grand into it. It should be worth about 150 or so, or even more, because it's kind of like people will pay more for a finished product than they will to have to go through the fix up and all that. So that's, as a real estate investor, that's what you get paid the big bucks to do, fix the property up. So I'm going to show you our contract, and this is kind of our short form contract that we use with all of our with our people that we, our general contractors that we use all the time. We use these people all the time. Can you guys see this contract? Okay, good. So yeah, basically it's just, hey, what are you gonna do, right? So we walked around the property and put everything. So the ceiling in the garage was falling down. The sheetrock, it needed new roofing. The rain had leaked through, so we had to do new sheetrock in the ceiling. The doors and doorknobs needed to be replaced. Light fixtures, faucets, light fixtures, everything that's kind of cosmetic that the tenant is going to touch every day. You really want to do that. We had a little sloping on the foundation, so we had to get that all squared away, and they were able to get that nice and level and everything. We just had some old siding that needed some kind of repairs, and you see, this is for a lot of the, you see the $3,900. And this is, kind of a lot of different things that we are having done to the property. Now, this covers a lot of the materials and all the labor, right? So that's $3,900. So keep, if you're running a tally, okay, we pay $190. We got basically $4,000 here, and then we'll say another $4,000 for materials, appliances, that kind of thing. So altogether, we're into it so far. We'll say for 200 grand, right? 200 grand. And that's the fix up and all that. Okay, so after we fix that up, and I'm going to come to your questions. But I just want to finish this example, and then I'm going to give one more. But yeah, after we fixed it up and we rented out both sides, both sides are now generating cash flow. We rented out the side that we fixed up. We rented that out for $1,200. So we got a side that's generating $700 a month, and we got a side that's generating $1,200 a month. So that is that's $2,900 that we have that's coming in every month on that deal, and that is below. I'm sorry, that's $1,900. I'm sorry, I wish it was 20. That's $1,900 that we got coming in, and that's below. That's still below what market rent should be. Both sides should be renting out for $1,200 a month, which that'll be 24. But I want to show you guys the value increase just from doing that, and what the new appraisal was, and the date on that. You see the date. So we closed this deal. Can everyone see that? Good. Okay, so we closed this deal and we fixed it up, and I think it was, I want to say 5 weeks later, our new appraised value is $390. Okay, so remember, we're all into the deal for $200,000. Okay, so just in about 5 weeks' time, we generated an additional, basically $200,000 in 5 weeks' time, right? So, that's not counting all the other benefits that you get as far as the, the pay down, and all the other benefits. So what we did with this appraisal, this evaluation, we got a refinance at Great Plains, and I told Mr. Ray about Great Plains. Our friends over there at Great Plains, the president of the bank over there is Diana. She helps us out with a lot of our refinances. Their money is a lot cheaper. They said, hey, we can give you 75% of this $390. And I said, what, that would be nice, but really I don't want that much debt on the property. So all I did was I exchanged that money that we put into it. So basically we put 200 grand into it. we just did a cash out refi. We paid off that 160, that 165 that was originally lent. We paid that off and took the rest of the cash and paid ourselves back. So remember that you know, that 25 down plus the $5,000 in earnest money. So that was 30 grand. So we paid ourselves back that, and you know, I think that was basically it. So that 390, you know, let me do my little quick math. I think they were gonna lend us up to 75% of 390. They were going to lend us $292,000, but you know, we said, hey, we don't need that. We just want the 200 to pay ourselves back and to keep our mortgage payment low, so this thing can cash flow really well. You don't want to get too over leveraged, because you know, that's kind of where you might start to kind of, you know, have some issues if you got all this debt and leverage and everything else. So so this is what you know, what the lender used to you know, give us that 200 grand back. So basically, we did that deal with no money out of our pocket. Yeah, it had to be out of our pocket temporarily. It was out of our pocket for maybe 5 weeks or so. But then once that refinance closed, we paid ourselves back, and we were able to continue on, and that is cash flowing very well. I think it's cash flowing about $1,000 a month right now. And so I'm going to go over here to the questions and see the earnest money. Did we get the earnest money back? Yes. Yes, we got the earnest money back on the refinance. And you know, so like I was saying, on that refinance, we're only leveraged about 50% leverage on that property, because right now, you know, that was in at the beginning of July, it appraised for 390. Everybody knows that with these low interest rates, these you know, housing prices are shooting through the roof right now. So I would bet that maybe right now it's worth 400 grand. And like I say, we only put half debt on that. Now, if we ever find a really good deal somewhere, and this is kind of how it works with a lot of our portfolio, if we find a good deal somewhere and we just, you know, don't want to use our own money, like we never want to use our own money, we could just go back to the lender and say, hey, look, this asset is worth 400 grand. Just give me a 75% loan on it, and you know, we could take that 100 grand and go put it down on a you know, something else, right? So that's how you keep growing your portfolio. And you know, this is just 2 deals. You know, we do deals like this about once a month, where we're generating you know, maybe it's not 200 grand we're generating, maybe we're only generating 50 grand. But if you can do 50 grand a month on average, you know, you're doing pretty good in Oklahoma City. Now, you know, of course, I say Oklahoma City, there's places where 200 grand a month is not really that big of a deal, but you know, or 50 grand a month is not really that big of a deal. But here in Oklahoma City, I think you're doing okay. Yeah, earnest money is credited at closing. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Yep. Let's see, Darren. What is your method of getting practical repair estimates? So a lot of times, you know, just through repetition, you know what it costs to replumb a house. You know what it costs to floor a house. You know what it costs to put a new roof on. You know what it costs to put new doors and new windows on. Just from repetition, just from doing it over and over. But you know, when you're first starting out, my recommendation, this is what I did. Actually, this is not what I did, but I learned the hard way. You always want to get a licensed inspector to inspect your deals, especially when you're first starting out. If your first couple years, you get a licensed inspector, and I still do it. Even to this day, I get inspections on most of my deals, because then you can go back to the seller and say, hey, you know, I didn't know about this thing, you know, so instead of paying 100 grand for it, you know, all this stuff is messed up that the inspector found. Instead of paying 100 grand, you know, I can only pay 80 grand or I can only pay 70 grand because I didn't know in my original offer that, you know, whatever thing is going to have to be replaced. I didn't know that all the plumbing was going to have to be replaced or whatever, which all the plumbing, that's, you know, it's kind of ridiculous. That's not a realistic thing that would happen, but you get the idea. So get an inspection. That way it's a neutral third party person, you know, the seller sees as a neutral third party person that is telling the seller, you know, the things that are wrong with their property. And then you can go back to the seller and say, hey, you know, I'm sorry, but all these other things are wrong with it. We can no longer pay 100 grand for it. We can only pay 90 grand. And then if they say nope, you got to pay 100 grand, then you got to do some real soul searching as to if you want to keep the deal or not. So yeah, that's kind of what it comes down to. So so yeah, that's kind of how it works. Yeah, method of getting practical estimates. Yeah, and when you do enough deals, you'll just know how much things cost, and you use the same contractors over and over. We have 2 crews. We use the same 2 crews mostly for all of our deals. This summer we kind of had to bring in some extra crews because we had a lot of projects going on, but most of the time, like right now, we got 2 crews, and we know how much they're gonna, you know, we know how much they're gonna charge to, you know, paint or do sheetrock or some of the stuff, you know, do, you know, new subfloor, whatever it is. We just know how much it is just because we, you know, we've used them so many times over and over. All right, let's see. Dominic, I purchased a home I live in now. I recently added a basement. Uh, should I get it appraised before putting it on the market for rent? Reappraised. Now, so an appraisal is going to be used for, and Dominic Carter, I think I know you, but I think appraisal is used for if you're going to go to the bank and try and get a loan on the property. So if you're trying to get a loan on the property, yes, get it reappraised. Maybe you can get a better loan, a cheaper loan, you know. But if you are simply renting it out, an appraisal isn't going to do much for you. As far as that's concerned, I hope I'm understanding that question right. But yeah, if you're not getting a new loan on it, then you don't really need an appraisal for it. So Cardell.
Yeah, I think we went to OSU together.
Yes. Did I answer your question? Is that?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, good. All right. Let's see here. So okay. What list are you requesting from the county assessor to request your property list, unpaid taxes, and unoccupied? So it's not directly from the county assessor, and kind of the way I do it for like when I was just looking at the county assessor, I went with absentee owners who have owned for greater than 10 years. Okay, so we're talking about people who live in, you know, Mississippi or California, who have owned the property for greater than 10 years. So that means they have equity. They should have a decent sized equity stake in it, because you need somebody that has equity in the property to be able to reduce, you know, to be able to negotiate and get you the price that you want, right? So if someone just bought the property at market value for 100 grand and the neighborhood is selling at 100 grand, they're probably not going to be able to sell it to you for 50 grand. So because they just bought it and probably got a loan on the deal, and their loan is probably 95 grand, right? So you got to get someone who's paid that loan down over the course of years, many years, I say 10 plus years, and target those people who have paid down their loan, you know, had the property, been able to pay their loan down, and even live out of state, okay? Because if it's out of state, they're out of sight, out of mind. All they know is, hey, at one point we're going to get some money, you know, when we sell it, and you might be the person that they're just waiting to hear from. Hey, you're going to call them and say, hey, I want to buy your property for cash or whatever, and then, you know, the chances are higher. And this is not just me making this up. You know, this is real estate investors who've been doing this for 20, 30 years. They'll tell you the odds are higher buying a property from an out-of-state person in order to get a really good deal, because a lot of times it's kind of a hassle to them. They got to still take care of their stuff in their own state, and then they got another property in another state. So that's kind of what I've been targeting as far as the list, the out-of-staters and the people who have owned for greater than 10 years, or retiring landlords and stuff like that. So let's see, next question. I permanently got, or I prematurely got my properties reappraised after adding to the properties. The property values increased, but so did my taxes. I learned not to appraise unless I plan to sell. Okay, so that's another thing. Yeah, I'm happy you brought up the tax issue. And a lot of people don't know this, but you can negotiate with the county assessor on your taxes. And I do this every single year. In order to make sure my taxes are staying low, there's this thing called a formal protest form. And I fill one out every single year for all my properties. I protest what they deem the value of the property to be. I say, they say it's worth 200 grand. I say, no, it's worth 100 grand. And this is why. And it's the same, it's the same thing that you're trying to do with the seller that you do with the county tax people. And this is a secret. So don't tell anybody, except for anybody that's in this room, in this meeting. But you can negotiate with the county assessor on your property value, because valuing properties is like a art. It's not necessarily, so their opinion could be shifted, and I do this every single year. So Mr. Ray, can I show him that example that I showed the other folks? Okay, all right, I'm gonna show you guys one more example, and then that should be about time, and I'll take questions. And this is just one of the deals this is one of my better deals of the year. Let's see if I can find it. And I want to kind of just reiterate, you don't need any money to do deals. All you need is a good deal in order to do deals. All you need is a good deal. And your job as a real estate investor is to find good deals. And let's see if I can bring this one up. Okay, so here is a deal we did in June. So what was it, about 4 or 5 months ago, June. So as you see, purchased the property, got it under contract for 38 grand. Now, this property needed a lot of work. It needed a lot of work. It had some issues, we'll just say. It needed a lot of work. It ended up needing about, we'll say, 12 grand worth of work, including, we always put the stainless steel fingerprint resistant appliances in all of our properties. So we put the good stuff in there so that our tenants, we can attract good tenants, right? You want to attract good tenants that are going to pay on time and that are going to stay for a while and all that kind of stuff. So as you can see here on the settlement statement, bought it for 38. They were going to give us, I think they were going to give us a little bit more than this, but we said, hey, we'll just take 79 grand, 79.8. And so we bought this deal. And when we closed this deal, we walked away with a check for 37 grand. Okay. 37 grand. So we didn't want, of course, we were looking at what kind of mortgage payment is going to be on that. And we wanted to make sure this thing was still going to cash flow. Right. So with a mortgage payment on debt of 79 grand, we kind of knew, and that's kind of the thing. And I'm sure Ray has explained to you, you have to know your market. You have to know what the rents are in the neighborhood. You have to know what the property values are in the neighborhood. So when we're looking at our rents in the neighborhood and we're trying to determine how much of a loan we want, right? So how much debt is this property gonna withstand? So we said, okay, it'll easily withstand 79 grand. And your monthly debt payment on 79 grand with kind of the rates that we're getting is I think right around $500 a month. Okay, $500 a month. We knew that this property should rent out for $1,100 to $1,000. So we need to be getting our DSCR at least a 2. Mr. Ray, have you told him about the DSCR? Okay, all right. So basically we need our rent to be about double of what our mortgage payment, our monthly mortgage principal and interest is going to be. So we said, okay, yeah, we're comfortable with 79 grand. We took our 37 grand and put some of it in our pocket, and we also went ahead and got it fixed up with the rest. Like I say, altogether it took maybe 12 to 15 grand to fix the whole thing up. So in total we were all in on this deal for, we'll just call it 50 grand. Okay, we'll call it 50 grand. And I'm hurrying through. I just want to show you guys this last example. I know Mr. Ray is like, hey, what's going on? But I just want to show you guys this last example and show you kind of, everything that happened and what all we had come through. And I would show you our service agreements that we use with our same people. But just going to the other side here, let's see, and this is our appraisal. You see that 125 grand, okay? And this was, remember we bought it in June. And so that means 2 months later, we had, all in, we'll say 50 grand. And not only did we double, we more than double. And really, I think they kind of shortchanged me on this. I really think it's worth more than this, but I'm fine with that. And again, I only took about, I don't know, 60% of the value in loans. So if I ever want to go back to the bank and say, hey, I want the rest of the percent, they would cut me another check from this property that's already generating cash flow every single month. Like I say, this thing is renting for $1,000 a month, and we have, the mortgage payment on it is, I want to say, is $500. So, that cash flow, I'm a cash flow investor. That is one way to generate big time, wealth, those multiple streams of income. So yeah, Dominic, how do you vet the people we rent to? So we no longer do any property management. We farm that out to third-party property management. We use several different ones. One of the property management companies that we use for most of our property is IWC Property Management. They do a fantastic job. It is like you don't do anything. They run the background checks. They do the credit report, and we've been very happy with them. But before, when I was just starting out, how did we vet the people's background? Basically, we just looked at the public records and we ran a credit check. So we looked at, does this person have any kind of court filings? Does this person have any evictions? We never allowed anybody who had an eviction in the last 10 years to get anywhere near our properties. So evictions were a no-no. Misdemeanor convictions, those were okay, and things like that. So we wanted them to have a pretty clean record, and all that kind of stuff. So, but basically that has been, kind of some of the deals we've done. We're doing a couple deals this month that are gonna seem to be okay down in the Paseo district. We're trying to get that squared away. We got some 1031 exchanges going on, tax-free or tax deferred exchanges. So it's just very exciting stuff. We're just doing all kinds of this. It's a lot of fun, and I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Ray, because I told him it would be an hour, and but it looks like we don't have any other questions. So Mr. Ray, I appreciate you letting me be here, man.
Man, I tell you what, that was outstanding. I know my team's got a lot more questions for us, so we're going to open it up right now Right now, come on, let's get all your questions on the table. Between Soddee and I, we're going to be able to answer all those questions. So hit us up with your questions. Go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Now I just put my email. There. If you got any questions that you can think of, at a later time, then don't hesitate to send me, send me your question. I'd be happy to help you. And a lot of time, I know me and Mr. Ray, we're doing this stuff real time. I know he's going to tell you guys about how Juice Man properties were impacted by the ice storm. I can tell you some of our properties were impacted, and a lot of the things, I take full ownership of things that go on at our properties, and a lot of the things could have been prevented by, extra tree maintenance, for example. We just yesterday, my tree guys finished completely cutting down all the trees that had any chance of damaging any of our properties for future ice storms. Now, don't get me wrong, it was very expensive to cut down all these huge trees, that could cause damage, but it's kind of a preventative measure, right? So it's very preventative, and it's expensive now, but it would have been even more expensive in the future had we not done that. So that is so is there a website where you can find owners that need to sell quickly? No, a lot of these owners, I mean, they need to sell like today. They don't have time to go to a website and put their information on there and get a real estate agent or anything like that. So they need to sell like, because they're having some kind of emergency. And that's the kind of people that can give you the best deals, are people that are having some kind of emergency, and they need money quick, and the only thing that they can do is sell their house. So you're helping them you're helping them by providing money to satisfy their emergency, and they're helping you because they're providing a property for you, for your portfolio, or whatever you want to do. So how do you find these people? They're just out in the community, kind of word of mouth. Sometimes, people get a divorce and they need to sell their property quickly or whatever. A lot of times, I purchase from people who inherited properties. That's a lot of, excuse me, that's a lot of the properties that we buy are people that inherit. Sometimes we purchase foreclosures if we can get a good deal, but a lot of times those foreclosures now in this market are being bid up to like market value. But back in 2016, 2015, you could get some foreclosures that were pretty decent priced. But no, the owners that need to sell quickly, I mean, they're not broadcasting it. It's not, a lot of times they're not happy, or they're not, they don't want people to know that, that they're having an emergency, and they just want someone to come in and purchase the property quickly and do what they say that they're going to do. Don't be one of these people out here that's, you say you're going to do the deal and close the deal, and then you go and get it under contract and then try to get it to somebody else. And then the next guy says, no, I don't want it. And then you go back to the owner and say, well, I guess I don't want to buy it anymore because I couldn't. So don't, or if you do that, just let them know up front. Let everybody know up front if you are doing that. But that's not something that I have seen go well a whole lot. I'll just say that. But yeah, that's a great question. Thanks, Kendra.
So Soddee, tell me a little bit about, let's go back a little bit and tell me about how'd you get the real estate bug? What was it that pushed you over the edge?
So yeah, and I think me and Mr. Ray, we talked about this. Kind of what started it all was, so I went to law school out of state, right? And this is graduated 2013. I moved back to Oklahoma City, and I didn't hardly have any money. I was a state prosecutor, making like almost no money, like minimum wage, poverty wages. It's ridiculous what they pay those guys. So I was making almost no money. I had $2,000 saved up, and I knew that I didn't want to rent or anything. I wanted to see if I could purchase. So I got an FHA loan, $2,000. And my dad said, whatever down payment you can come up with, I'll match it. And he knew I didn't have much money. So that's probably the only reason that he said he'd match it. So I had $4,000, my FHA loan, my 3.5% down, and I bought a house, single family house, to live in over in the Paseo district. And this wasn't, how the Paseo district is now, where it's like people want to go live there. This was like the Paseo district before, but I kind of had an idea that, it was progressing. It was coming on the up and up. And that's what you want to do when you're buying your properties. You want to buy in areas that you think are turning around, turning the corner, and prices are increasing. So bought a little deal in the Paseo. It was 60 grand, right? That was about all I could afford. It was, the FHA, they kind of make sure that the property is at least livable. But I tell people this, I bought the most broke down FHA property that they would approve, right? So it was in bad shape. I mean, it was a 2-bed, 1-bath. It was trees growing on the roof. It was, as bad. It was no fence. The faucets were just, it was bad. So what I did was, I wasn't making hardly any money. So I would, every paycheck, I would save up to buy a new, faucet or a new sink. I couldn't buy the faucet and sink together because I just didn't have that kind of money. So I bought a faucet here and then a sink there and then a fence. I had to buy one fence side at a time because I was just so poor, so broke that I couldn't buy the whole fence at the same time. So this is back in 2013, 14. And slowly but surely, I fixed that property up. And I noticed that the house down the street from me sold for $100,000. And I'm thinking, I just bought mine for 60 and he sold his for 100 grand. What's going on around here? So, I said, okay, well, that's cool. So I rented that property out. I had a little bit saved up. I bought another deal. I moved out, rented it out. It was renting for, it was $10.50 a month, renting for $10.50 a month. And my mortgage payment on that $60,000 house was $450. And so, I kept that for about 18 months. And I remember I would put about an extra 50 or $100 extra on my mortgage payment every month. And so, I was renting it out for $10.50. I had cash flow coming in, and I was thinking, man, this is like the easiest money that I've ever made. This is like unreal. And so I said, okay, well, what can we do here? Let's see if we can multiply this. So I said, okay, let's get the equity out. My equity was starting to build up. I had that pay down coming in. I was paying down that mortgage. So the mortgage was paid down to about 50 grand. And I rented it out for a year. So about 18 months, maybe 20 months after I purchased it, I sold it for 100 grand, or maybe it was 98. It was right at 100 grand. And the mortgage on that was 50 grand. So what did I do? I went and I cleared 40 grand. So after cost and closing costs and realtor and all that, because back then I wasn't a real estate agent, so I had to pay for all that. So after that, I cleared 40 grand, and I went and bought 4 houses with that 40 grand. I put 10,000 down on each house, and instead of generating, $400 to $500 a month with that same equity, I had about 50 grand in equity, and that 50 grand in equity was generating me about $400 or $500 a month. So that same 40 grand in equity, instead of generating $500 a month cash flow, it was now generating about 3 grand a month cash flow. So at that point, I said, okay, I got to figure out how to keep increasing this. And it wasn't taking up any more of my time. It was very passive, and our whole business is very passive. So, the more properties that you add, it shouldn't really take up any more of your time. So I was sitting there in court every day, slaving away, making a little bit of this, a little bit of money, and, in state court. And so I said, I'm making way more in passive income. And then I switched over to the federal government, and that's, they kind of really increased my pay, and I kept getting, these pay increases. But even then, I was still working there for 40 to 45 hours a week. And, don't get me wrong, the pay was great, but I was never at home. I couldn't be with my, my wife, my family. So I said, you know what, they're doing okay, but I can do better with real estate. I can make 100 grand a month with real estate rather than making 100 grand a year at the government job. So, you can actually make more than 100 grand a month, and it's really not that tough. You just keep doing it over and over again. And Mr. Ray will tell you, you do it plus, do it over and over again plus time. It's impossible not to become a millionaire. Isn't that right, Mr. Ray? All right. All right. Yeah. So that's basically how the ball got rolling on my, in, real estate investing career, I guess. But even before real estate investing, I was always an investor, like in stocks and all that kind of stuff. But let me tell you, the stocks and real estate cannot compare as far as your returns and your cash flow is concerned. Stocks are good, but they're not as great as real estate is. You don't get any tax benefits, and those 5 things that I mentioned when I first started, you don't get those with stocks. So yeah, real estate all the way.
The best wealth building vehicle ever created by mankind is real estate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If your goal is to make money, and the only logical thing to do is to purchase real estate and get that passive income. I know a lot of people, they say, oh yeah, I got this business that, does this. I got a business that does this. But as soon as they leave, there's no business. I consider that being self-employed or maybe just owning a job. But a business is something that, I believe continues to run whether you leave the country for 2 or 3 months or not. And that's exactly what Mr. Ray has, and that's exactly what most real estate investors have. So, real estate is great. You don't need to be there. You can be on the beach. And that's exactly what, during the time that we were doing all these deals this summer, I was on the beach for a lot of the time on South Padre Island. So it's great. It's possible. Don't get me wrong. I didn't start out like this. When you're first starting out, you're sweating like, oh, what do I do? But just keep with it, and you'll get there. Isn't that right, Mr. Ray?
Man, I tell you what, if you ever listen up, students. I need you to listen and listen very clearly here. What this man is telling you is that if you want to create wealth, you want to create lasting wealth, you want to make wealth and make income while you sleep, you can do that through real estate, baby. You got to learn how to get out there, find deals, and do deals. They're not going to come in your lap. He's telling you, you have to put in work. This doesn't happen. Hey, I wish somebody showed me a house and I can go over there and make a lot of money. No, you got to get in there. You got to know what the numbers are. You got to know what the market are. You got to know how much you rented for. You have to get educated before you get out there so you can make sure that you're doing the right type of deal.
That's right. And I'm always willing to help folks. I have a curriculum, and you guys are made the right decision already by getting educated here with Mr. Ray. That's the number one thing that will cause you to lose money is not having the knowledge and the education to make the right decisions and know what you're doing. And I develop a curriculum. It's one-on-one. It's a little bit different than this format, but just Google Knight Land Company mentoring, and you'll get right to it. And the password, I'll give you the password for everyone is in here. The password is cash flow, no spaces. But yeah, you guys are on the right path with Mr. Ray, and he's got a lot of experience. So if there's no other questions, let's see. I don't see any. I think I can go ahead and wrap it up.
Man, I just want to say I really appreciate you, Soddee, taking time and just coming by and sharing with us, man. It's been so helpful, and sometimes they need to hear it from somebody else. It's like your mom and dad tell you all the time, but somebody else come in, you gonna listen to him, right? Mr. Ray, he always talking about this, talking about that, but now Soddee done come here, he done affirmed and confirmed everything that I've been sharing with you guys. So. Again, I want to say thank you, man, and put your information there in the chat so people know how to get a hold to you. And I'm just going to quickly go over some of the stuff that's been going on in the last couple of weeks. I know you can share some of these same stories. And if you got to go, I know you got to go. But I'm going to give my group here about 15 more minutes and let them know what's going on right now in Oklahoma City.
All right, Mr. Ray. Yeah, I'm going to go, but you and I, we need to get back, link back up real soon.
We're going to do some deals together, brother. I promise you that.
All right. All right. Well, hey, good to talk to everybody, and I'll be checking you later, Mr. Ray.
All right. Thanks again, man.
All right. Bye.
All right. Wow. Now, I'm telling you, now, wasn't that exciting? Very, very exciting. Now, let's turn the page a little bit. I know we're about an hour in, but I wanted to quickly give you an update on what's happening right now in Oklahoma City. So we had a recent ice storm here back on October the 28th. Some of you all, if you live here in the Oklahoma City area, you're aware of that. And this was the earliest that we've ever seen ice accumulating here in Oklahoma City. I mean, October, you don't hear that, but we had a lot of ice come, and it was devastating. OG&E estimated over 700,000 customers were without power, and some of them just got power a day or two ago. So this was a bad deal, right? All the way around. Extensive damage, trees, power equipment, just a bad deal all the way around. And this was the first time that some neighborhoods, Nichols Hills, had ever been out for such a long period of time. And these people were hot and they were mad. And there was nothing OG&E could do about it because the backbone of the system basically had been brought down because the heavy ice that was on the power line. So let me give you a quick impact of what happened to me here as Juice Properties. Many of you know I got about 20 properties that I'm currently managing. I manage those on my own. So I'm responsible for everything that happens to those properties. These are my girls. I own them. They work for me. They give me residual income every month. But I had a total of 6 properties that sustained some heavy tree damage over the last couple of weeks. 3 of the properties actually required repair to the meter base and meter box. And I'm going to show you some of that information here. Each property that I currently have insurance on those properties, I have a high deductible on my property. That's how I get such a low rate, because I have a high deductible. So I had a $1,000 deductible on each one of them. And this is what you need to understand. The insurance only pays if the tree falls on the house and damages the house. If the tree falls in the yard or on the fence or something like that, they won't pay for that. That's going to be on you, the homeowner. And so the homeowner is responsible for cutting the trees down and removing them. Now, I did have one tenant that took it upon themselves to hire somebody else, because they felt like I didn't get out there fast enough, to hire someone else to move the trees, to cut the trees, and said Mr. Ray was going to pay for them. Guess what? You did not get an authorization from Mr. Ray to do that. Guess what? You get to pay for them. And so be careful of doing things that you have not got approval from the landlord to do, because you may be stuck with that bill, as this individual found out that they're going to be stuck with that bill. So I had some repairs. So my North Jordan area, northeast side of my the properties I have on the northeast side of Oklahoma sustained the most damage. Over on my North Jordan property, I had $400 in electrical repairs and $900 in tree removal. There was a lot of damage over there, and I'm going to show you some pictures there. Over on East Madison, I had some, again, the electrical box was tore off the property. The trees fell on the line, brought the service line down, pulled the electrical box off the property. So I had $400 over there, plus a little bit of tree removal. Over on Northeast 17th, again, the electrical was $400, had $300 in tree removal. And then my Fairchild property, I didn't have any electrical damage, but I did have some tree removal, as I did down in the Norman area. So here is there's one of the trees you see before, where you see all the ice that we had there. And then you see on the right where we came back and we had to get rid of that poor little tree there, right? I'm hoping you guys are seeing that. Yes, looks like you are seeing that. So that was the property on Jordan. And this is my property on Northeast 17th. Again, this is a hot mess right here. Lines going everywhere. The trees fell on the line and just pulled the service drop right off of the house. You can see extensive damage on here. And again, on the left, you see all the damage. And then on the right, you see where we got repaired. I want to take a moment and give a heads out to one of our electrician millionaires that's on our team. Dietrich, he came and did me a mighty good job, fixed me up, got me back up running in no time. So I want to say attaboy to Dietrich, good job, I appreciate you. Here's another property that Dietrich did for me. We had the meter base that was pulled off of this particular property. I think the meter base stayed, but we had some other damage that was needing to be repaired. You can see the ice is on the trees, which weighed down the trees, was causing them to fall on the property, and I was able to get most of that cleared out. Here's the Jordan property. On the left, you can see where the meter base is pulled off the wall. On the right, you see where we had a repair. I believe Ken again, my electrician, he's here on the call, I think. If not, then Ken, I want to give you an attaboy for doing me a good job over here on my Jordan property. Here's the Jordan property again. On the left, you can see ice down, and then on the right, you can see where I had to come in and trim out all those trees. Again, the Jordan property on the left, it was a hot mess over there. This is where I had most of the tree damage, but then again, on the right, you can see we got everything cleared out and got it up and running again. This was on the Madison property. On the left, this is a exterior detached garage. As you see on the right, we were able to get all those limbs up off of that property. And then again, on the Madison property, you can see the meter base is knocked off the wall. Dietrich, again, he came over, fixed this one up, got me up and running for a reasonable price. We appreciate that. On the right, looks like we're up and running again, baby. And then the last property, this is at 1221 McGregor over in Midwest City. I didn't have any electrical problem here, but I have this big old tree that's in the front of this property just came down everywhere, right? Luckily, it didn't fall on the house, but on the right, you can see I had my tree trimmer come up there and just trim all that stuff out, so I should never have any problems like that again over there. So now it's time to get out there and make that money, baby. So I'm gonna stop the share right here. Are there any questions or comments about anything that you've heard or seen today? We want to take an opportunity. I know we're going a little bit long today. Somebody asked, did Del City require an inspection before you reconnect OG&E? During times like this, during times of disaster, they are not requiring inspection because that would slow the process down immensely. So they're relying upon the electricians to come out and do a good job. OG&E will come out and look at it and make sure everything looks good before they reconnect it, but they are not requiring electrical inspections during this time, only because there's so much damage everywhere. They couldn't possibly have enough inspectors out there to inspect and get everybody back on in a reasonable time. Good question, though. Any other questions? Man, I know we've thrown a lot at you guys today, and appreciate you hanging around. We're about an hour and a half into this thing. I know you got other things to do, so I'm going to end it on this. Just know, if you will make a commitment to read, study, educate yourself, understand the numbers, and then get out there and start just doing some deals, you're going to find out it's not as hard as you think it is. It's not as hard, but you got to get out there and make it happen. But I'm here for you. I'm your coach. I'm your mentor. I'm your motivator. I'm going to make sure that you get it. If you got any questions at any time, you text me, you call me, whatever. You want me to look at the deal? You want me to look at the house? Give me a holler. I'll get you going. Now, I know some of you people are not part of my class. We have a class that we do on Mondays. We do a foundations class. Then on Thursdays, we do an advanced class. And if you are interested in becoming part of that, just hit me up, MrRaysRealEstate.com, or you can call me. Let me put my phone number on here. You want to get hooked up with me? There you are. Give me a holler, give me a call. I'll get you signed up. We'll do a little questionnaire, kind of find out where you are, and we'll get you started in this real estate game, baby. I am a first generation millionaire, and you too can be a first generation millionaire. Hope you guys have a great day. It's been great. I'll see you on Monday. We have the foundations class. We got a couple more weeks in that, and we're going to finish up and go to the next level, baby. Everybody have a great day, and we'll talk to you next time. God bless you.